Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
Have you ever noticed how many women in midlife say, "I'm so angry lately"? Not irritated, not frustrated, angry. A simmering rage, a short fuse. An intolerance for nonsense that somehow you managed to tolerate for decades. Maybe you've wondered, what's wrong with me? Today I want to offer a different possibility. What if nothing is wrong with you? What if your anger is not a problem to solve, but a creative force trying to be expressed? Welcome back to Hot and Healthy Menopause. I'm Nicole Van Haddam, your menopause coach and your retreat-loving guide through this midlife adventure. One of the most insightful books I've read in recent years is Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estés. If you've never read it, it's a powerful exploration of the instinctive, creative, intuitive nature of women and what happens when we become disconnected from it. Estés speaks about the wild woman archetype, the instinctive, creative, intuitive and untamed parts of ourselves that modern life often demands women suppress. In many ways, our workplaces, families, social conditioning and cultural expectations have demanded that women become agreeable, accommodating, productive and endlessly available. Yet there is a cost for disconnecting from our instinctive nature. Quiet women don't disrupt systems. Creative women do. Women who know themselves do. Women who trust their instincts certainly do. And menopause has a funny habit of introducing us to that wild, instinctive self, whether we're ready or not. A client asked me recently, "Nicole, why do I feel so angry? I've done the personal development, I've raised the children, I've built the career, I've ticked all the boxes. Why am I so angry suddenly at everyone?" Maybe you've asked yourself a similar question. And perhaps the answer isn't that you're becoming an angry woman. Perhaps you're becoming an honest woman. Anger is often a boundary looking for a voice. Many women arrive in menopause carrying decades of accumulated compromises. The marriage they outgrew, the career that drains them, the friendships that have become one-sided, the family expectations that no longer fit, the invisible emotional labour, the people-pleasing, the self-abandonment. For years we may have swallowed our truth to keep the peace. Then one day, in midlife, peace becomes too expensive and anger arrives, not as an enemy, as a messenger. Anger often says something important is being violated here. It may be your time, your energy, your values, your dignity, your dreams, or your creativity. Because creativity and anger are surprisingly close relatives. The creative energy hidden inside anger. Most people think creativity is about painting, writing, dancing, singing, poetry, photography, or learning guitar. That's part of it, but creativity is much bigger. Creativity is life force. It is the energy that wants to create something new, a new idea, a new business, a new relationship, a new chapter, a new version of yourself. When that life force is blocked, restricted, denied, or ignored, it doesn't disappear, it transforms. sometimes into resentment, sometimes into depression, sometimes into exhaustion, and sometimes into anger. I've often wondered how many menopausal women don't actually have an anger problem. They have a creativity problem. They have decades of unlived life trapped inside them. Think about that. How many dreams have you postponed? How many adventures have you delayed? How many opinions have you swallowed? How many talents have been sitting quietly waiting for permission? Your anger may be saying, I have something to create, and you are not listening. The wild woman doesn't want perfection. One of the reasons many women disconnect from creativity is because we've been taught to perform rather than create. We want the painting to be good, the book to be perfect, the business to succeed, the social media post to be polished, the garden to look like Pinterest. The creativity becomes a performance review. The wild woman doesn't care about that. She creates because creation is her nature. Birds sing, trees grow, rivers flow, women create, not because they are trying to impress anyone, because creation is life expressing itself. Maybe creativity for you isn't writing a novel. Maybe it's planting herbs. Maybe it's learning a musical instrument. Maybe it's taking a pottery class. Maybe it's redesigning your home. Maybe it's learning Balinese dance. Maybe it's designing a retreat. Maybe it's finally launching the business you've been talking about for 10 years. Maybe it's becoming the woman you were always meant to be. Menopause is a creative initiation. I sometimes think we've misunderstood menopause completely. We've treated it as a medical event, a hormonal event, a symptom event, and yes, it is all those things. But perhaps it is also an initiation, an invitation to reclaim the parts of ourselves that were left behind, the parts that were too loud, too ambitious, too intuitive, too creative, too powerful. The wild woman doesn't disappear in menopause. She gets louder, and if we ignore her, she often speaks through anger. A different question. The next time you feel anger rising, instead of asking, why am I so angry? Try asking, what is trying to be born through me? What wants expression? What wants movement? What wants creation? What wants liberation? What part of me has been waiting patiently for years? Because sometimes their anger is not asking you to fight, it's asking you to create. Why retreats matter? This is one of the reasons I believe retreats can be so transformational for women in midlife. Not because they fix you, you're not broken, but because retreats create something that modern life rarely offers. Space. Space away from responsibility, space away from noise, space away from being needed by everyone else. And in that space, something interesting happens. The anger often starts talking, not as rage, as wisdom. Women tell me they arrive at a retreat exhausted, irritated, and disconnected from themselves. Then after just a few days of rest, reflection, movement, nature, creativity, and meaningful conversation, they realise they aren't angry at all. They're grieving, they're yearning, they're longing, they're ready for a new chapter. Sometimes what looks like anger is actually untapped life force asking for expression. Reflection questions. Take a journal and spend some time with these questions. Ask yourself, what am I angry about right now? What boundary needs strengthening? What truth have I not spoken? What dream have I postponed? What wants to be created through me? If I stopped trying to be who I was, who might I become? You don't need all the answers today. Just begin listening. The wild woman has been speaking for a very long time. Perhaps menopause is simply the moment when we finally hear her. And remember, your anger is not always a sign that something is broken. Sometimes it's a sign that something powerful is waking up. Perhaps your anger is not asking you to calm down. Perhaps it's asking you to wake up, to create, to speak, to change, to become. Because if you are likely to live another 30 or 40 years after menopause, the question is not, how do I get back to who I was? The question is, who do I want to become now? And what is my creative spirit asking of me? And remember, if you're in the middle of the transition or the other side of the transition, I'm here to support you and to support you to live a hot and healthy life. Thanks for listening to Hot and Healthy Menopause. If today's episode helped you, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's also navigating the transition. And remember, you'll find my free menopause symptom tracker, retreat recommendations, and more resources at nicolevanhaddam.com. This is your time to thrive, and I'll be right here to guide you through it.